yay or nay tasting on.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Should be good.
We're good?
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, we're live. Afternoon, guys. Welcome. What You Wine and Spirits. Spirits Guide here in the house, live. Whiskey Wednesday. It's the first Whiskey Wednesday of September, which is National Bourbon Heritage Month. Pretty cool. So we can't talk about anything but bourbon for the whole entire month of September.
It's illegal.
Yeah. I didn't realize what a daunting task this would be, to post 30 different bourbons on the Wachusett social media.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And then have to do it on my Spirits Guide page as well. So there's probably going to be some crossover between the two. September, National Bourbon Heritage Month. By the way, how are you?
I'm good. We're good. We're doing good.
Haven't seen you since Sunday.
Yeah, good Labor Day weekend
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
A bunch of fantasy drafts and all that, so.
NFL kicks into full gear tomorrow night.
So pumped.
Awesome. I can't wait. And I just watched that documentary last night on John McEnroe.
Okay.
It's on Showtime. Absolutely insane. Turns out he was a crazy person. I mean, we all kind of knew that from watching him.
Yeah.
It's like doing cocaine with Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones. It's madness. While being like, talks about how like athletes now take performance-enhancing drugs, and they were taking like performance-degenerating drugs, like just drinking beer and ripping butts and smoking weed and doing coke. And he's still the #1 tennis player in the world. Absolutely fascinating. If you have Showtime, definitely check it out. Also very sort of human story as well, because he is bonkers. So yeah, Bourbon Heritage Month. I'm kind of dubbing November Bourbon Hysteria Month, because that's when things just start going bonkers, and I get 100 new best friends who want to know what I do with my allocated whiskeys and how do we dole out our pappy. But kind of the inspiration for what we're doing today is that in a couple months, everybody's going to be spending a ton of money on bourbon that you're going to be tasting, flipping, whatever. Either way, it's going to cost a lot of people pretty pennies. But we need bourbon that we can actually just drink. And we need some bourbon that we can afford so we can save up for all the big stuff coming down the pike. Let alone our Old Forester Single Barrel, which you're going to want to buy a couple of bottles of. Email me, Rich at Wachusett Liquors, if you haven't done so already, to reserve your bottles of Old Forester Single Barrel. So I was kind of inspired to just find like 5 good bourbons under $25 that are available all day, every day, that are good and drinkable. And this is a list I came across. Later, Mikey. And by coincidence, I get emails, Fred Minnick's newsletter, every day or every week. And he just did a video yesterday or the day before of his top 10 bourbons under $20. And I never really fully agree with all of his stuff, but the list was pretty spot on. I just posted it on my social media, on my Spirits Guide Facebook page. I'll get it up on the Wachusett Facebook page probably tomorrow. Out of the 10, there's only 2 that aren't available in Mass. JTS Brown Bottled and Bond, which is a Heaven Hill product, and very old Barton, which is a Barton product, actually a Sazerac product. But the other 8 were pretty spot on. I probably would have replaced those with Old Grandad if I could get it. And maybe in one other one. But in the video, he talks about, because I'm watching it, and like, this one's, definitely under $20. This one's definitely, I'm like, wait a minute, that one's like 23, 24. I'm thinking like, it's not really 20. And then like, right in the middle, he says, don't be alarmed if you see this out and about and it's $24 or $25, because every state, even though MSRP is 20, every state has its own taxation.
Yeah.
So 50% of the cost of a bottle of bourbon is taxes. So for all you MSRP chirpers out there who read it that the MSRP in Kentucky should be $20, it might be $25 here because of taxes. He also says it may vary on what stores need to charge to make for money, and a bunch of other factors that go into changing that price from what MSRP in Kentucky says it is to what it ends up being on the shelf. I just thought it was beautiful that somebody else out there was finally saying what we've been talking about
Can't
all
give it
along.
away for free.
You can't give it away for free. MSRP is an outdated formula that doesn't account for, you know, all the price increases,
Oh yeah, especially right
fuel
now.
costs, you know, shipping issues and all that, let alone supply and demand on some of this stuff that you just can't get.
Yep.
And so it's just sort of nice to hear Fred Minnick, who's not a god, but he's one of the most influential people in the world of bourbon, to actually say, like, just because it says MSRP, can't always expect to find it at that.
Yeah.
So that being said, mine was 25 was my ceiling, based on what we sell it for here, which is pretty much standard markup. We don't gouge or go extra on it. So we've got a couple of 80 proofers, a couple of 100 proofers. I'm going to say it's going to be hard to argue with any of these.
I think these are all my babies.
Yeah, these are it. These are what we can afford. Just grab some glasses and do some drinking. Where do you want to start?
I don't know, start with the different ones, maybe.
Yeah. So let's start Four Roses. Again, we don't have to get too deep into mash bills or anything like that. What we're looking for is just good whiskey that you can drink every day. Four Roses, this is 80 proof. There's another thing that Minnick talked about in the video that I absolutely loved. One of his best bourbons under 20 was Jack Daniels. It's technically not a bourbon, Tennessee whiskey, we get it.
Yeah.
But here it's like 27 bucks.
Yeah.
And we buy the max deal to get our costs down and then mark it up from there. And we're still at 27 bucks, so that just kind of shows the disparity. But right there, this Fred Minnick talking about how much he loves Jack Daniels. Not Gentleman, not Single Barrel,
No.
just regular 80 proof Jack. And then he drops this one. I love me a good Jack and Coke. I was in heaven. Like,
Yeah. Seriously.
it's okay to mix your whiskey
Yeah.
with something else. And there's Minnick, one of the most influential people in whiskey, talking about how he loves a good Jack and Coke.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it, man.
How he loved a good, one of his was Jim Beam White Label, and you know, he loves that with ginger ale.
Yep.
He also made a case for when you're just sipping whiskey like we're doing now, 80 proof is perfect, you know?
Yeah, you don't need that.
You don't need a cube, you don't need, you know, to cut it with anything. 80 proof is perfect for sipping.
Absolutely.
So, Four Roses, we're at 23 bucks on the shelf. It's an 80 proofer. It's around 5 years old. So, again, 23 bucks, it's a 5-year whiskey. Not too bad.
Solid.
Four Roses is famous for having 10 mash bills. And this is a blend of all 10 of them. Basically, they have a bunch of different yeast strains, and a bunch of different mash bills, and then they blend all 10 of them.
Yeah, this is definitely one of those bottles when I first started working with you guys. I never knew anything about it, and I fell in love with it immediately. It looks like a more expensive bottle than it is because it's so elegant and stuff. I love it.
And as a bartender, like this was kind of the bartender's favorite. We always kind of kept the bottle behind the bar to just have a quick drink mid shift. The nose it's bourbon.
Cannot go on with Four Roses.
No.
Any of their lines.
Yeah. Let alone you get a small batch select and single barrel.
Yeah. And even those, I mean, they're definitely more pricier, but for their quality and the way they taste, it's completely worth it.
They're, spot on.
I haven't had it in a while.
Yeah. These are all whiskeys, like, when I was thinking, I was like, I'm so excited about this. First of all, I'm never prepared. You know, when you work there, like, it'd be 4 o'clock. What are we doing today?
I don't know. Go stand in the aisle real quick, just observe.
I knew yesterday what I was doing. I had all my research done. I was prepared. I couldn't wait to drink these. And yeah, drinking that again, I hadn't had it in a while. Like, there's just so much, for 80 proof, too.
Yep.
Like,
You're getting so much.
so much flavor. That kind of rye spice.
Yeah, it's a spicier bourbon,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's a high. Their mash bills, one of them is 60 corn, 35 rye, 5 barley. The other is 75 corn, 20 rye. So
Okay. Yeah, so it's up there.
high rye mash bill for sure. And it's just got like that, like rye bread, like buttered rye bread.
Which is perfect with like the buttery, like that buttery sweetness almost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, that is fantastic. Another great thing about this, it comes in a handle.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if your fantasy football draft, your Sunday afternoon fantasy football watching, you get a bunch of people together, grab a handle of Four Roses.
Absolutely.
I feel like
Yeah, might as well go down the line.
go down the line. Wild Turkey. By the way, I've been to Four Roses. It's probably Buffalo Trace is like Disney World.
Yeah.
But as far as aesthetics, the buildings at Four Roses are beautiful. They're designed like
They have a
kind
bunch
of
of roses.
yeah, but it's very like Adobe style.
Oh, okay.
Like it looks like it's Southern California, Northern Mexico. Kind of
Oh.
those roofs that are kind of rippled, like,
Oh,
look like
that's sick,
ribbon
yep.
candy. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous property. And we're going back down there, I believe, next April. And I really do, I've been talking about this for a while. It looks like it's a definite, and once we have the dates of when we're going to go down there, I want to put together a group. I'll set up the itinerary for all the distillery tours and just get as many of our customers together.
Yep.
You guys get yourself down there, but I'll set up all the tours. We'll do a group dinner one night.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Just, I mean, that's what
That's how you-
this
that's
should
how-
be about.
That's how you connect and meet people, yeah.
All right, so Wild Turkey, which is another place I've been to, just another cool place. Like sometimes places when you walk through, you feel like you're walking with ghosts. Like you can actually feel
the history. Yeah.
on the ground. It's wild, and Wild Turkey's out in the middle of nowhere. Cool story. I mean, Jimmy Russell, Eddie Russell, been the master distillers for combined over 100 years between the two of them, father son.
It's funny you say that because, like, you drive into one of those in the middle of nowhere, but you don't realize how much money and whiskey they produce there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, insane. I mean, that goes same thing with like farming and everything. It's like something you just look at the side of the road. You're like, yeah, what is that? It's like, oh, it's one of the biggest money makers in industry, like, in the world.
And what was cool is, so we were there, and they took us into one building, and can't take pictures because it's like their bottling line, and they do some proprietary stuff that you can't take pictures of.
Yeah.
But they also bottle Sky vodka there. So Campari owns Wild Turkey.
Oh, yeah, yep.
I mean, Campari owns Sky. So they bottle all the flavored vodkas there. So when you walk in the building, the first smell you get, it smells like Fruit Loops. It smells like you just like dove into a ball pit that was stuffed with Fruit
Yeah,
Loops.
Fruit Loops.
And you just smell like that cherry, grape,
Yeah.
just all those flavors. It's almost
crazy.
thick to walk through. It was pretty wild. Wild Turkey, $22 on the shelf. This is actually 81 proof. They make a 101 proof version as well. Also both available in handles. 75 corn, 13 rye, 12 barley. The other thing about these bourbons is, like, people look at Wild Turkey, like, it's the old man drink. There's a reason these are still on the shelf.
Yep.
They're good.
The old man drink is usually the good drink.
Yeah. And I think sometimes we get so wrapped up sort of culturally on what is the next new, shiny thing. that you kind of forget the roots and the foundation.
Why fix what's not broken?
Yeah. The fact that it's only been two guys making this whiskey for the last 60 years, like, you don't get any more consistent than that. Again, spicy nose.
Just clean.
Get like, almost like hints of cocoa, and it's almost like a turtle candy. Like a little bit of caramel, a little bit of cocoa,
can see
a
that.
little nuttiness to it. Yeah.
Even that 13 rye still pops out a little.
Yeah.
You get a little bit of that spice.
Yeah, and Wild Turkey's always been known for lower barrel entry proof too.
Okay, yep.
So you get more concentrated, sort of richer flavors. Again, available in handles. And that flavor is just
Yeah, it's still
hanging there.
Just sitting.
Again, for all the proof chasers out there, like it's 80 proof, it's 81 proof, there's so much flavor for 80 proof.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I almost have to like cleanse the palate because the finish is so long before we get into the next whiskey. I'm gonna jump over here. Man,
Oh, baby.
there is just something. I mean, I learned from Katrina long ago to be prepared. There was one episode I was using OJ and I hadn't opened the OJ yet, and I'm fumbling around on video. And she told me, always be prepared. So I made sure that I cracked the seal on this and made sure that it was
I
open.
wasn't sure where you're going with that.
And that first smell, when I first opened it, it just right out at you. So this is Rebel 100, $20 on the shelf. If you're a proof chaser, it's 100 proof. 100 proof, 4-year whiskey, weeded whiskey, developed at Stitzel Weller by the same people who were making Weller, by Pappy Van Winkle himself, many, many moons ago.
You want to talk about a staple to our store in the past 4 or 5 years, like the amount of bottles I've recommended to somebody of this, and they came right back like, wow, what have I been doing?
Yep. People are blown away by it, and I mean, kind of the pitch we always give is like, it's $20. Doesn't matter what your friends do with it. You put it out, if they mix it with lemonade, Coke, whatever they do with it, and they kill it, you're out $20. You can replace it.
Exactly.
We always have it. We actually have it in dips, 50 mLs. So if you're going to a game, going to do some tailgating.
You're with 4 buddies, throw $5 each, and you got good enough.
Yeah, little Sunday fun day, little plastic nips, toss them around, whatever. Again, weeded whiskey, 67 corn, 20% wheat, 12% malted barley, $20 on the shelf. And just, the label is solid.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that one you could.
Just enough heat from the alcohol to balance it.
The flavor is amazing. There's so much flavor
Yeah.
in that.
And this is like wheat bread. It really is. Toasted wheat bread. It's just beautiful. And again, like that flavor is just coating.
I have
the
said
palate.
this 3 million times, I think. It's the best $20 bottle you can get.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's amazing.
I'm going to kind of jump a little bit.
Okay.
Jim Beam Black.
That's the question.
I mean, this is a gem.
It's
So,
another one of those old man drinks.
Yep.
Jim Beam slapped on a label, like, oh, that's
Yep.
what my grandfather drank or whatever, grandmother drank.
I kind of put it in this perspective. People knock Jim Beam, it's cheap, whatever. It's the #1 selling bourbon in the world. It can't be the #1 selling bourbon. That means people keep buying it if it's not good. So, as the bourbon boom kicked in, Jim Beam White Label was always 4 years. This was always 8 years.
Okay.
Extra age. Obviously, as the bourbon boom kicked in and supplies got a little tight, they took the 8-year age statement off. Because if you put a number on the bottle, then the youngest whiskey in there has to be that. So they took the age statement off, but this is still 6 to 8 years of the barrels blended. And I love the Jim Beam White Label, but you can still get this for under $25. Also, 50 milliliters. And while the White Label is soft, sweet, it's delicious, you get more oak on this. I actually didn't look at the proof point. So 86 proof. Got a little bit more heat on the fastball than the White Label. But to me, immediately, I smell the age.
Yep. Yeah, you can definitely smell the age.
I get the toasty oak on the nose.
another staple
Yep.
to America, really.
Yeah. I don't know how many sleeves of Jim Beam Black I've gone through in my time. But the first thing I noticed is how heavy, how viscous, how much weight that whiskey carries. That's a gem.
Yeah, even the mash bill, like that 13 rye.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I could taste it so well now.
Yeah. 77 corn, 13 rye, 10% barley. So it's big on the corn. It's actually higher in corn than the other ones we've tried so far. So a little bit more richness, a little bit more sweetness, but that extra age, again, for $25. So that's $25. It's right at the cutoff. Jim Beam White Label is $20. Both available in handles. And again, it's the reason that Jim Beam is the #1 selling bourbon in the world. In next to Buffalo Trace, this was my second favorite distillery that we went to.
Really?
Yeah,
I mean, it's just got so much history in it, right?
it's massive. And again, like, so not the last day, but the day before that, we were there. We left Louisville, we drive south. So we're going all the way up to Bardstown to go to Heaven Hill. Mm-hmm. That was our first appointment of the day. You drive right by Jim Beam, going down this country road, and there's nothing there. And you kind of look off on the hill and you see the rick houses and whatever's up there. We go out to Heaven Hill, we come back. It's just this massive property that Jim Beam actually lived on. There's like a barbecue smokehouse on the property. There's a bar that they built in a barn. The visitor center is great. The people, that's the other thing about Louisville. When we get down there, finally, I feel like we've been talking about it for a couple of years. Everybody there is just amazing. They're nice. They're passionate about what they do. They go to each other's distilleries and drink each other's products. It's such a great time. That barbecue smokehouse and the Jim Beam property is.
And that's what's cool about those things. Like, I feel like all the kind of the new upcoming breweries, I feel like are like so state of the art. Like everything's so like flashy and fancy and clean cut. And, like I feel like distilleries are the exact opposite of that. A good distillery, if you're going to it, you don't want it to be like that. You want it to be rustic and old and vintage.
Well, the distillery, the floor where they actually make the whiskey, you want that to be spotless.
Well, yeah. I'm saying like the bar around it, like
the
built-in
scenery,
farm and all that stuff. And you don't want to see like a nice. I mean, where they make the whiskey, yes, about state of the art equipment, but
yeah, the rest of it you want it to be rustic. And so the first time we went down to Kentucky, we had gone to Buffalo Trace, we had gone to Wild Turkey. And it's just people in overalls and rustic and country boys and country ladies, and it's basically Southern belles and country boys, and everybody's just awesome. And then we walked into Woodford, and we were like, "Ew,
we don't belong here.
I don't belong here." Like, church clothes, everything, like the visitor center was just shiny and clean and bright.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, it didn't look like anybody actually worked there. Like all the other distilleries, somebody's working. It didn't look like that at Woodford. And like Jim Beam just has that rustic feel. And then you put a barbecue smokehouse in Louisville. Like that's it. And they were great to us as well.
I think that's what keeps them alive.
Yep.
I feel like.
And we've talked about like if Jim Beam put as much marketing effort and hype into their products as Buffalo Trace did, we'd be talking about Jim Beam as the distillery.
Yeah.
Because the whiskeys that they make,
like, I feel like they just don't even need to put out that.
No.
It's like if you know, you know.
Yeah.
We have our clientele.
And it's another great point is they don't need to. People look at like Evan Williams. We'll talk about that next. Jim Beam, Four Roses. Like these are distilleries that have been around since the 40s, the 30s. They've been making whiskey. So why is Jim Beam only $20 on the shelf? Why is Evan Williams Black Label under $20? It's because they own all their own stuff. They've been doing it forever. They don't owe anybody any money. They don't have to buy whiskey from somebody else to put it out under their label. They own all the whiskey. You know, at Heaven Hill, like, not only are they making Evan Williams, they're making Elijah Craig, they're making Pikesville, they're making Rittenhouse, they're making other products as well. So their bills are paid, so they can afford to put out a good quality product for not a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of these newer brands, some of which are great, but they've got to buy whiskey from somebody else before they can put it out under their name. That drives the price way up. So that's kind of why Jim Beam is inexpensive, Four Roses inexpensive, Evan Williams inexpensive.
The winner, right?
The winner. Yeah, this has been top 2, top 3 in our Whiskey of the Year sort of bracket challenge. And I saved this one for last because in Fred Minnick's top 10 whiskeys under $20, this was actually his number 1.
Awesome. Love it.
So I
It's
love
like
it.
we got a good palate.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And again, so Evan Williams, bottled and bond, $18. $18, bottled and bond. So it's 4 years. It's 100 proof. Mash bill 78, 10, 12. Again, pretty high in the corn. Also available in handles. God, I gotta talk to my guys at Heaven Hill, see if we can get them to put that in nips.
Oh my god.
If I can get that in nips.
Evan Williams has literally turned into like my favorite sipper.
It really is. It's so good. It's affordable. Again, it's here all day, every day.
Again, when I was first turned 21, or earlier, but
Yeah.
I mean, you'd walk by it on the shelf and you'd just be like, oh, I don't want that. Like you would try to find like a
Yep.
cool looking bottle, like, oh, this has to be good, not knowing that Evan Williams is literally one of the best
great.
whiskeys you can have.
And in
Quality.
Minnick's list, he had Evan Williams Black Label and the Bottled and
it?
Bond in the top 10. So 2 of the 10 were Black Label and White Label.
My go-to is the black for sure, but I'll spend the extra few dollars. But
I'm trying to think of what else was in his top 10. Old Forester 86 and Old Forester 100 were 2 of the top 10.
yep,
Wild Turkey, I think he actually had Wild Turkey 101 in there, because in Kentucky that's $20. He had Jim Beam White Label in there.
this guy knows what he's talking about. So
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I just kind of put it up that I don't always agree with what he, his
Yeah.
ratings and what he says, but it was hard to argue that list.
Yep.
The only thing that was missing was Old Granddad, which I don't know if that's missing because you just can't get Old Granddad anymore. Like, it's vanished.
I know.
I have an easier time getting Blanton's than I do getting Old Granddad.
Really?
Yeah.
Not the regular one, or like the
Any of them.
really?
Yeah.
I've seen them around.
I,
Not a lot though.
There's not a lot of it.
Yeah, like total.
The 114, the high proof Old Granddad, I haven't been able to order that in 2 years. The Bottled and Bond, which we both love,
Yeah.
that vanished probably 6 months ago. And then we just sold the last bottle of 80 proof that we had in Worcester this morning.
Well, I'll have to start scooping some bottles.
Yeah,
myself.
seriously.
I knew,
Yeah, if you can find some 80 proof out there. It's kind of funny, people buy like a bottle of Old Rip and they won't open it till they get a backup bottle. I have a bottle of Old Granddad 80 proof that I won't open it till I get a backup bottle. That shows where I'm at as a whiskey drinker.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything's right there. Again, heavy, rich, viscous,
The nuttiness.
nutty,
That's what I always get with Evan Williams, the nuttiness.
caramel, nut, oak, toastiness to it.
Yeah. Amazing.
That is amazing. So there it is. You can actually get good bourbon for under $25. You can't fill your tank of gas for under $25.
Put enough wonder proof in it.
Yeah. So yeah, there it is. My 5 favorite bourbons under $25. available all day, every day. Ton of flavor. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
Which one's your favorite?
Everyone's. Actually, I say that. It's definitely between these two. It's like, I can't pick.
Yeah, it's
up there. I love them all, but seriously,
Yeah.
Rebel has been there. So, and then Evan Williams, I recently started getting to probably within the last year and a half. But
Yeah.
Rebel was the first one that you really introduced me to, and I was like, oh man, like, this is something different. $20. Perfect.
I think the good thing with this lineup too is you've got like 100 proof, 80 proof, 81, 86. So you've got you
Yeah.
get a variety of proof points under $25. You've got wheated bourbon, you've got a traditional rye bourbon, you've got a high rye bourbon. So you've got some flavor options again for under $25. Yeah, I think my winner. I'm gonna go with Fred Mennick. Evan Williams bottled them on.
I don't blame you.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up. We'll be back next week. I think next week, because we can only talk about bourbon. Talk about bourbon cocktails. We'll make some bourbon cocktails. We'll make Manhattan, Old Fashioned, Bourbon Sour, Boulevardier, Sazerac.
I love the cocktail videos
Yeah.
you do, so hell yeah.
Yeah, so we'll make some cocktails next week. Show you what you can do with your bourbon that you paid under $25 for. All right, that's it. We'll wrap it from there. Winner, chicken dinner. Podcast listeners, stick around. Matt's going to be joining us in a few minutes. We're going to taste some ciders and some beers. Cory and I are going to do a yay or nay tasting on a rum.